So although this shoe may not be my first pick as my race day option, it's certainly my #1 pick when I want to go. Testing's complete, scores are in, and this is the full review of the New Balance SC Elite V4. But before we get into it, massive shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description, so make sure you go check out all their running gear. And if you want to support this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Right, so the SC Elite V4 certainly sits on top of the New Balance tree. It's their premium race day option. So quick specs here, $360 here in Australia, 237 grams or 8.3 ounces. That's in a men's size 9. Now stack heights, we've got 40 millimeters in the rear and 36 in the front, giving us a 4 millimeter drop. Now in the price, there does represent a little bit of value in this shoe for me because I think this shoe is super versatile. However, I still think it is certainly overpriced. That's why it's getting 7 out of 10. And in the weight department, for a race day shoe, it certainly needs to be under that 8 ounces mark, 7.5 out of 10. And in the upper here, so the material they're using here is what they call their Phantom Fit. Now this material, really light, really breathable, exactly what you want in your race day shoe. Now padding wise, keeping with that race day theme, very minimal padding here around the heel collar, so there's virtually nothing inside it. The tongue, it's got no padding either. Heel counter, a little bit of structure at the bottom and a fair bit of play at the top. There's no heel flare, there's no pull tab. The tongue is not gusseted, it is very thin. But it's quite easy just to lay on top of your foot, so I've had no dramas with the tongue. The lacing system, pretty standard up and down here. The laces are super thin. They're probably a bit too thin for me, but I've had no dramas with them coming undone. Now the lockdown in this shoe could be better. So there is slight issues with the lockdown, and that's just because the lack of padding around here, a heel pad or a heel flare. They need something around here just to help lock that heel in a little better. The fit is true to size, and the width of this shoe, it's quite a wide shoe, especially for a race day shoe, and this toe box has got a fair bit of volume in it, which I really like. The comfort of this shoe is excellent, so probably one of the most comfortable race day shoes you can get. And the build quality is pretty good too. So overall, the only real letdown here is the lockdown, and that's why it's getting 7.5 out of 10. And in the midsole here, so they are using a full slab of their fuel cell, but it's a different formulation of what they've used in their previous models. It's now a full slab of P-bar, so that is absolutely excellent, really amazing. This needed to happen in this shoe. Within that, they've got a full-length carbon plate, and that's obviously giving this shoe some rigidity. That's what they call their energy arc. Now with this carbon plate, it's actually got some ripples in it, so it's like corrugated iron, and that's obviously to aid to the strength of the carbon plate. But you can see there is a bit of flex there in the forefoot. There's certainly stiffer carbon-plated shoes there out on the market. Geometry-wise, we certainly do have a forefoot rocker here, but it's quite gentle, and you're not going to feel like you're really tipping forward as what you're going to find in other race day models. And in the outsole here, so they've got a really interesting thing going. So full rubber coverage on the forefoot and on the high wear is at the back, and that's what most shoes are doing these days. Exposed foam through the middle of the shoe, and obviously that big cavity through the middle of the shoe there, that's the exposed carbon plate. But the grip on this shoe, they've got this really interesting tread pattern, these tiny little diamonds all throughout the shoe, but the grip of this shoe is excellent. So excellent in all conditions, great in the wet, and you definitely need that, especially if you're going to have a wet race day or a wet run. But yeah, this one is really holding up really well, and also durability wise, there's hardly any wear on this shoe, which is really great. But also what's interesting here on the bottom of the shoe is the color that this exposed midsole turns when I'm running in the shoe. So it's actually it looks like it's burnt or something like that, or it's wet, but yeah, haven't really seen that amount of discoloration to a midsole foam before. Overall, this outsole, absolutely amazing. I love it, 9 out of 10. And we've got a really comfortable ride here, so there's just a really nice amount of softness and bounce in this shoe. You can feel like you can run in this shoe all day, and that is obviously a great sign when this shoe is obviously designed for your marathon racing. But what this shoe is not, you're not going to get a really wow factor or a propulsive or a responsive feeling shoe. And I think that's just down to the geometry. So this nice gentle geometry doesn't make you feel like you're in a super race day shoe. more like that you're in a cruiser, but you certainly still can get up and going in this shoe, so it is quite quick when you do want to pick the pace up. But certainly for me, it just feels so comfortable, and it's probably happy place is certainly that marathon pace. It's also a pretty stable shoe as well, which is really great, but overall it just lacks that top end speed, but probably one of the most comfortable race day shoes on the market, 8.5 out of 10. So I think this is probably the most versatile race day option on the market. So very versatile shoe here. So for me, you can definitely race in this shoe anywhere from 5K up to the marathon. However, I think its sweet spot is certainly the longer races. As I said, it probably lacks that top end speed, but certainly for most runners out there, so if you're not those elites, this one is going to work for you pretty much at all runs. And what I love this shoe for is certainly the long runs. And who is this shoe best for? So I can definitely recommend this shoe for those people that have never raced in a carbon plated race day shoe before and they want one for their next marathon or their next half marathon. This one is a very safe option for that. So if you want to get into the carbon plated shoe racing game, this is a great way to start. So it's a certainly safer one. So definitely for those marathon runners that want a pretty safe shoe that's a little bit more stable, and it's also going to look after you in those later miles, this one is certainly a great option for you guys. Well, other shoes to consider if you're thinking about buying this one. So first one is coming to mind is the Adidas Adizero Pro 3. So the midsole foam that they use there, the Light Strike Pro, is very similar to this Fuel Cell. I think the Adidas Pro is probably a little bit quicker, a little bit more rocket than this shoe. However, this shoe is softer and a little bit more comfortable. Another race day option is the brand new Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. So that shoe is another very safe race day shoe. It's quite a stable shoe and a little bit more rocket than this one. And lastly, it's not really a race day shoe, but it's a really stable, lightweight shoe that's going to do a lot of the same runs as what this shoe can do, and that is the ASICS Super Blast. So although this shoe may not be my first pick as my race day option, it's certainly my #1 pick when I want to go for a long run. So this shoe for me has replaced my ASICS Super Blast. So this is my #1 long run shoe. And I know that's not really what it's designed for. However, it is amazing at the long run. You can run in this thing all day, and this rocket is just nice. I think it is a better long run shoe than the ASICS Super Blast, but I definitely know that you're not going to pay top dollar just for a long run shoe. But this one, all in all, is a very, very safe race day option. As I said before, those people that have never had a carbon plate before and they want to try one for the first time, this is certainly the shoe for you. Pretty good scores there. The only thing that has really let the shoe down for me is probably the lockdown. Everything else I'm super happy for. All in all, this is still a pretty great shoe, so it's certainly a buy from me, and that's especially if you are one of those people that I did mention before. But anyway guys, that is it from me today. If you've got any questions about my review today or about how this shoe compares to anything else out there that I've got, please just drop that in the comments below. I really love reading those. But anyway guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.